Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to be learning about the literary device of paradox. What is paradox, you might ask? Let's go ahead and see what we're talking about. Perhaps this picture can help you figure it out. If you look at the two buttons, the blue button says the red button is true. Meanwhile, the red button says that the blue button is false. This might seem to be absurd, but in fact it makes sense, for the red button is right when it says that the blue button is false, and the blue button is true when it states that what is being stated by the red button is true. So as not to lose the thread of what I'm saying, let's read the following definition. What do we mean by paradox? Paradox is a statement that seems contradictory or absurd, but in reality expresses a possible truth. For example, my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. The words here, sound and silence, appear to contradict each other. We think of silence as the absence of sound, but one might hear some truth or lesson when it is quiet. Why do we use paradox? We use paradox to criticize an idea in order to show its faults, to add a witty element to a situation, to contradict common beliefs and add intrigue to whatever situation the paradox is used in, to challenge the mind to think about the given statement in a new way, to allude to an apparent contradiction and suggest that it might reveal a greater truth if it can be resolved, to point out, challenge, or satirize contradictions in the world, to craft a word puzzle that draws the readers in and demands their attention. Now it's time for application. Read the following paragraph, then identify the paradox justifying your answer. Before anyone crosses this bridge, he must first state an oath, where he is going and for what purpose. If he swears truly, he might be allowed to pass. But if he tells a lie, he shall suffer death by hanging on the gallows there displayed, without any hope of mercy. Now it happened that they once put a man on his oath, and he swore that he was going to die on the gallows there, and that was all. After due deliberation, the judges pronounced as follows: if we let this man pass freely, he will have sworn a false oath, and, according to the law, he must die. But he swore that he was going to die on the gallows, and if we hang him, that will be the truth. So, by the same law, he should go free. What is paradoxical in this paragraph? Let's see. This excerpt from Cervantes' masterpiece, Don Quixote, is a complex example of the liar's paradox. It seems to be absurd, but in fact it makes sense, since the prisoner who crosses the bridge tells the truth, and thus the judges feel required to let him go free on the account of that. If he had lied, he would have been hung on the gallows, but as that was already his fate, the judges reserve his fortunes by honoring his truth-telling. One writer who frequently used paradoxes was Shakespeare. Now let's read a line from Romeo and Juliet. Juliet, my only love is sprung from my only hate. What is paradoxical here? Before referring to the answer, we should recall that when Juliet met Romeo, she did not know that his family were the enemy of her family. So she fell in love with him. Now it should be easy for you to decipher what paradoxical situation it is. The tragedy of Romeo and Juliet is based on a paradox. Juliet expresses it in this quote, that her only love sprung from her only hate. It seems absurd, for it is unexpected that love should spring from hate to the extent that it seems impossible. However, the story of Romeo and Juliet shows the deeper truth of love and hate. They are not irreconcilable after all. Another example, the child is father of the man. Now, what is paradoxical here in this famous statement? Wordsworth sets a child and adult man against each other to make this paradox work. We usually think of adults as parents, which makes an adult man a father. However, it becomes confusing and paradoxical when a child is father of an adult man. This statement seems absurd, but in reality it makes sense, for adulthood is formed through childhood. The final statement is, I must be cruel only to be kind. Now, what does that mean? And how does it reflect paradox? Hamlet's phrase sums up a wide paradox at play in many stories, as characters wrestle with the question, is it alright to commit acts that seem morally wrong in support of causes that seem morally right? It seems absurd to say that being cruel would actually be an act of kindness. But when you think about it, sometimes parents whose decisions are sometimes considered mean and lack understanding are taken with their children's best interest at heart. So their cruelty is an act of kindness. Thank you.